Welcome to Nasesoft. This is the third tutorial series of Connect Amchart Graph with MySQL and PHP by using AJAX JSON. In previous tutorial, we connected pie chart with MySQL and graph data comes from MySQL table. And in this tutorial, we will learn about AJAX, JQuery, and on-chain selector based on its value showing data accordingly. For example, this is the graph and the data is of current year, that is 2019, and now we will connect a form data, that is a selector, and on-chain selector. For example, we want to showing the graph of 2018 data or 2017 previous year data. Then we when we change selector value, graph showing data accordingly. Now we will start from here. In previous tutorial, we connected this graph with MySQL and all these data comes from the MySQL table. Our agenda is very simple. First, we will add a year column in country population table by using alter command. Then we add value of existing data in year column to 2019 and add data of previous year, for example 2018 and 2017 data accordingly. After change table structure and adding yearly data, we will add a form selector at the top of the graph. Then we will add code of selector change. After that, we add AJAX code and working on AJAX. So first I go to the PHP myadmin, and here my database is test, and inside the test in previous tutorial we created a table that name is country population. Open it, and inside the table you see that there are three columns. First is ID, then country name and number of population. So first we add a new column year in country population table. So just go to the SQL tab and here write the query of alter table, and then the table name, that is country population, and we are going to add a new column. The column name is year and its type is integer, and inside the parenthesis the length is, for example, 10. Okay, enter on the go, and again go to the browse, and here you see that a new column year is added to the country population table. So first, these are 9 rows and the China population is this one, and by default give it the name 2019. Okay, and just did it to the all rows, for example 2019 here, and for United States 2019. Basically this data is of year 2019, so therefore by default I name all the years of this record to 2019. Okay, just do it for all rows. Okay, these are country population data of the year 2019, and now we will add all these countries, that is 9 countries, all these 9 countries population data for the years 2018 and for the year 2017. After that, in the country population table there are all these data of 9 countries for the year of 2019, 2018 and 2017. I will add the 2018 and 2017 data through the query in SQL tab, or you can add one by one after when I added all these data through query, then you will see this table and add it manually one by one. Or you can same copy these SQL script and paste inside your SQL tab and run this one to add these data through the insert into command. So I go to the SQL tab and here write a query that is insert into country population and these columns name and the value of first country China, India, United States, its population and the year. Okay, or you can just uh, copy and paste these script inside your SQL tab. Okay, so I press the go, and when you go to the structure and browse, and you see that all these tables China, India are repeated for the year of 2018, and this population is dummy data. Okay, so now there are 2 years 2019 and 2018 data of these 9 countries, and now I want one more country, that is 2017. So I again go to the SQL tab and here paste this line of code, that is insert command. Okay, and just change the year, that is 2018 to 2017 for by first time, and for example change some bits of this integer to some other value for the 2017 for just differentiate purpose. Okay, for example the values change for 2017, and so this script will add a new 2017 data of these countries of their population. Okay, so I press the go, then when I go to the browse, then you see that first 2018 data, 2019 sorry data, then the data of 2018 of these 9 countries, and then these 9 countries of 2017. Now my all the data of 3 years are correctly populated or stored inside this country population table. So now we will add a form selector at the top of the graph. When you go to your project folder, and this is our project that we created in the last couple of tutorials, that is simple pie chart, and inside this one open the main graph.php in your editor. Okay, code in last couple of tutorial. So first I add the form selector at the top of the graph. We are going to add this selector, that is the form selector, at the top of the graph here. So go to your code, and in the last, after this, before this div basically showing the graph, before this div right here the selector, that is HTML select code select, and inside the select, okay, selector start and selector end, and here write the option, and for example the first option value is 2019, and by default it is selected. Okay, and the second option value is 2018, and same copy and paste the code, and the third is 2017. Okay, just save the file and go to your browser, refresh the page, and you see that in the top left corner a selector is added. By default its value is 2019. If you want to change its value, for example 2018 or 2017, then it will change. Okay, our task is when I change this selector to 2019, that is by default, to something else, for example 2018, then the graph value is showing according to the year 2018. Okay, give a specific name to id to this selector. For example, I the id of the selector is, for example, selector underscore id. Okay, we will get from this id of the selector value through jQuery. Now we move toward jQuery. I want the value of selector when I change the selector. For example, when I change the selector to 2019 to 2017, then how can I know that the value of selector is now 2017? So this work is done by the jQuery. So first I include the jQuery library here. For example, after the style, copy and paste these line of code, that is AJAX library and jQuery. Okay, that is basically a CDN online library reference. Okay, so after that, here before the graph script I write the jQuery code of the selector change. Okay, what action I will did when the selector is changed. So this is, for example, jQuery code. Sorry, selector code. So first, that is script, and script type is text, JavaScript, and closing. And inside this one I write the jQuery code, documented ready. Okay, and inside this I get the selector value through id. For example, the selector id is selector id. If you see that the id is selector id, when selector is this selector is changed on change, if selector value is changed, then this function, for example, this function will call. So for example, when selector value is changed, then I just alert the selector value of the selected selector. Okay, for this dot var. Okay, show me the selector value. I save this line of code and go to the browser and refresh the page. Okay, now by default the value of selector is 2019, and if I want to change the 2019 to something else, for example 2017, then you see that the alert show me that through jQuery that the value of selected selector is 2017. 17. Okay, when I select the 2018, then it will show me that the value is 2018. So my jQuery code is working. So go to the editor, and here now I call a function here and write a function. For example, when selector is changed, then I call a function and the function name is, for example, AJAX function, and inside the function pass the selected year value. Okay, and here write a function, and the function is AJAX function. Call this function and define this function here, and the parameter is year, for example. Remove this definition of the function here and write another script, simple script, and inside this one paste this line of code. Okay, and before this one there is a function keyword, and function that is basically when selector is changed, then this function is called and the value of the selected year is passed through that function as a parameter. And in the function definition, this the year is just this year shown by this variable year, and I alert here the year value. Okay, just for the testing or debugging purpose. Okay, my function is working or not. Go to your browser and refresh the page and change the selector value to something else, for example 2017, and you see that the alert showing that 2017. Okay, so my code flow is working. Okay, now we are moving toward the AJAX. AJAX is not a programming language but techniques that incorporates a client-side script and communicate with the server. So without the loading of the web page, AJAX works. Okay, and you will see that how is it work. I define a variable that is URL, and the URL is, for example, of our this database file. Basically we call the database file from the AJAX. Okay, so copy this line of code here, and inside the simple pie chart there is a database file, database.php, simple pie chart database. Okay, and here I write the AJAX. AJAX, and inside this one the first parameter is URL, and inside the URL pass the URL variable. Basically we tell the AJAX to call this URL, and the type is post inside the variable. and then a async, that is true. Basically, AJAX are of two types. One is asynchronous and second is synchronous. In this tutorial, I am not going to explain it. I will explain both of the type in another tutorial. Okay. Data type. For example, the data is of JSON form. Okay. And then the data which we want to send to the URL. Sorry, post which we want to post to the URL of database file, for example, and the data is year, name is year, and its value is year. And inside this database file, we catch through post of this name, for example, that is year. I will show you. After data, before send, and the function is what will we do when the data is sent before of. Okay, for example, here we can also showing the loading sign in this tutorial. For example, I just left it empty, and on success, when successfully the data is posted to this URL and execution, after the execution occur, then what will I do? Okay, so this function will inside this function, all we write these line of code after the data is sent to the URL. Okay, so this function is, for example, the data that will return from this URL. First parameter tell us this, second is text status, and the third is, I'm not going to explain it, just copy and paste this line of code. Okay, shortly is that inside the success function, all operation that we want after the data is returned from or execution is occur of this database file. Okay, for example, I want to show the graph after the data is returned inside the data variable from the this URL. And to show the URL, here I write the line of code of showing graph. After that, if error is occur, then inside the error tab there is a function AJAX, and then its text status and error, sorry, error thrown, and this is also a empty function. Okay, and after that close the AJAX and this one. Okay, the error is occur, so remove this comma. Okay, the spelling of function is not correct. So this is our AJAX, and inside the AJAX I post the year to this URL, and inside this URL, that is database file, we write a query according to the year column, and to return the data in JSON format to this data if the successful execution inside the database function will occur. Then for example here I write a function that is show graph and call this function, okay, and inside this function I pass the data, and here I write the defined it function that is show graph, and inside the show graph function there is a data that are as a parameter pass, and to get the data here and all the graph showing function remove from here, okay, and paste inside this function, okay, a little bit core indentation, that is this one, okay. Hope guys you understand. Then when data is successfully execution is successfully occurred inside the database URL, then to call this function and pass the data variable to this function, and inside this function just showing the graph through the graph script. So now when you go to your browser and refresh the page, then no graph is showing, because in Ajax we call the database.php and we not working yet to the database.php file. So now we are going to work in database.php file to design a SQL script according to the year column. So open your database.php file in your editor, okay. So first get the post variable of year. For example, in PHP I declare a variable year and we get the value of post, and the posted value is year. So now in PHP when it called through Ajax, there is a variable of year that is posted, and we get the post value inside an year variable, okay. So a little bit change the query. The query is now selected all the data from the country population. So I just added a few lines that is on the year base, where, and if I go to the database and you see that the third column is year, so I just tell it that where year is equal to this year. Now I again go to the browser and refresh the page, and you see that there is an error, undefined index year in line 7 database.php, okay. So go to the database.php and in line 7 let me check. Before we are going further, keep one point in your mind that we are using the database Amchart, and if I go to the my database, then at the start of this tutorial we create a database test, and inside the test there is a table that is country population. In previous tutorial I use AM charts, so therefore here I name the DB name AM chart, and inside the AM chart there is a table that is country population. Then you should added all these steps which I said earlier of this tutorial of adding the year column by alter command to this table of AM chart database. Okay, I hope you will understand this. So just follow my all these step where I created I add an year column inside the test database country population table, and now all by following all these steps you should add the year column inside this country population table of Amchart database. I hope you understand this point, and now we will able to go further. First, go to your main graph.php, and at the start here just remove this line of code, okay, because now through AJAX we call the database.php, not at the start of the page, okay. And this is our AJAX function, and inside AJAX function we call the database.php and post an year variable. Okay, now save this one file and again go to your browser and refresh the page, and you see that the error is removed but graph is still not showing. Okay, now check. First, when we change the selector, then this function is called and year is posted to the database.php, and we get the year variable, okay, through post year, and on the basis of year we write an SQL script and get the data or fetch the data inside this variable and return. Okay, first just replace the return to echo, okay, because we are not going to return this array but just show this array in Ajax. Okay, and save, and after that again go to your main graph, and here see that you see that the echo now inside the data, and data is passed to show graph and function, and inside the show graph function there is a variable that is sorry, as a parameter, that is JSON data. And basically this JSON data is now in a JSON form data, and it is inside the JavaScript. Okay, so just here remove the PHP tags and the dollar sign, and here semicolon. So now data, JSON data is directly passed to chart data. Okay, when I save this file and again go to your browser and refresh the page, and here you see that by default no graph is showing. Now I select the selector. When I change the selector, and you see that the graph is showing according to the change of selector function. Okay, and these all our values are now coming from the database. Okay, and 2017, and you see that graph is changed according to 2017, 2018 and 2019 now showing because 2019 is occurred through selector change. So now the last error which we will remove, that is by default why graph is not showing. Okay, so this is very simple. So this is a main function, AJAX function, that fetch the data from the databases .php file and showing the graph. Okay, just call this function after this function. Okay, this is very simple. By default when execution occur, so our execution is occur basically by default selector is not changed, this piece of code is not run. Okay, so directly our uh, uh, execution occur, and this function is called, and one variable that is year. So by default we pass the 2019 as a parameter. Okay, so by default this function will call, and after execution this function year is posted and the graph is showing through show graph. When we change the selector, then this piece of code is executed, and this function is called to the executed value, and the flow is inside this function. Okay, and after execution this function overflow will automatically stop, basically because the graph is showing. Save the file. Okay, and go to your browser again and refresh the page, and you see that by default 2019 values are fetches from the database and graph is showing. And for example, if I change the selector to 2019 to something else, that is 2018, then you see that graph is showing according to the 2018 year. Or if you showing that if you change the selector to 2017, then graph value is showing according to the year 2017, and all these data fetches from the database. So hope guys this video will help you a lot. So now one more thing to do, I want to add a title bar of this graph. Okay, and inside the title bar the graph is, the value of year will be showing. For example, the population of the countries of the year, and inside the parenthesis the year is 2019, and if years is 2018, then inside the parenthesis 2018 will be showing, and so on. So this is very simple. Go to your code and main.graph file, and inside the main.graph file pass an year column to the show graph function as in second parameter. Okay, and in show graph just cache this year variable as a second variable, second parameter. And here after the legend, here edit the title of the graph by a variable that is title, and the title is chart dot titles dot create function, and the title text is, for example, world population in year, and inside the parentheses just this show this year variable, and then parentheses, and after the parentheses edit. Okay, so this title is showing that world population in the year, and year variable, and this one. Save the file and go to your browser, refresh the page, and you see that by default the title is showing world population in the year 2019. If I change the selector to 2019 to 2080, then this will show that world population is of the year 2018 and of 2017. So guys, this video will help you a lot. If you have any question regarding to Amchart or any confusion, so please comment that is below this video. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.